Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over all of the changes in update 6.1, which is of course arriving on Tuesday with the Dark Protocol Halloween event. There are some pretty significant things in here though besides the Halloween event. First of all, the Nightbird and actually all of the helicopters have seen some pretty big changes, some really significant nerfs. The TOR railgun tank is getting some new weapons, and then there are also some changes to several significant weapons that you may be currently using. So as always, we are going to go over everything there in a second. But first, if you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future Battlefield videos. Hit me up on Twitch as well if you enjoy streams. I stream there 3 times a week. We always play a few rounds of Battlefield 2042 and just sort of squad up together. So if that is something that takes your fancy, then by all means, feel free to come over. Okay, so let's begin with the changes to the new Season 6 map, Redacted. So players will no longer be able to get on top of the incinerators on Flag A to ensure fairer capturing opportunities. So you guys are probably familiar with these. It's these large sort of, box incinerators that are on that flag. And there was some sort of a small blue, I think, electrical cabinet next to one of these incinerators that would allow you to jump onto the cabinet and then up on top of the incinerator, and you could put spawn beacons up there. Overall, I think Flag A is definitely way more contested than the other home flag, which is Flag D, so I think this is certainly a change in the right direction. Kind of sad to see this because that was always where I went whenever I camped that flag, but hey, I can understand why DICE have made this change. Now, moving on to the vehicles, and there is a lot of stuff in here, so brace yourselves. Firstly, they have increased the first-person perspective free look sensitivity for the jets based on player feedback regarding it being too slow. So what they're referring to here is whenever you are in first person in the cockpit and on PC you hold middle mouse button, you can actually freely look around the cockpit, use this to look down on the battlefield. Previously, the sensitivity for this was woefully low even when you put it maxed out. So they seem to have tweaked that and turned that up a little bit. And as an avid jet pilot, I really appreciate this. I saw people talking to Eddie, one of the vehicle designers, over on Twitter a few weeks ago, or maybe months ago now, and we were discussing this exact thing, so really happy to see that he has forwarded that feedback and done something about it. Now, moving on from that, the Penguins have been tampering with the manufacturing processes of light air vehicles, with the MD-540 Nightbird jets and stealth helis now vulnerable to standard bullets. So that is a massive change. So what that means now is that you are going to be able to damage the Nightbird, the jets, and the stealth helicopter with regular ammunition as opposed to the armor-piercing ammunition from before. I can only assume then that the armor-piercing stuff is going to do even more damage than regular. Now, honestly, I don't really quite know what to think about this. I guess DICE are trying to let everyone chip in a little bit of damage to any vehicle, even if they're not playing as an engineer and they don't have any direct munitions to combat it. But this is just something that they could so easily cock up with the balance here. If the weapons do too much damage, I mean, what do you do if you run into a squad and there's 4 people with LMGs and they just let that vehicle have it? Because even if you have a Nightbird flying around, previously if you wanted to shoot out the pilot, well, you had to be extremely precise and have very, very good tracking to do that. Anybody can really track a vehicle like a Nightbird even, and unleash an entire 30-round magazine or even a 100-round magazine from an LMG with ease. So I guess the question is, how much damage is each bullet actually going to do? Because when the amount of players on a flag start to add up and everyone just instantly focuses that Nightbird, well, they could just melt them super, super fast. Thinking back to Spearhead when the railgun was released, that thing used to do insane damage to Nightbirds and helicopters, and because it's a hit scan weapon, everybody and their grandmother was using it, and a lot of the time you couldn't really fly around the battlefield at all because you would just get hammered by those railgun shots, and they did eventually nerf them to actually stop them from doing damage to tanks. I would have liked to see some sort of a dev comment here from DICE explaining why they've taken this route. Obviously the consensus is that the Nightbird and vehicles, air vehicles in general, are overpowered, so they're obviously doing that to give the infantry some means to fight back with here. But I'm not going to get too worried yet. I'm going to wait until Tuesday. I'm going to do some experimenting and some testing of my own and see exactly how much damage these small arms fire will do to a helicopter. And I know I can already see the comments down below. Everyone's going to be going, oh, Ghost, you just want your helicopter to be OP so you can farm everybody. Guys, let's remember, you guys have seen my gameplay. If you've come and watched me over on Twitch, you will know that I play everything in the game. I play helis, I play jets, I play tanks, but more than anything, I play infantry. So believe me when I say that I want the game to be as balanced overall as possible. But yes, I guess time will tell and we'll see on Tuesday. Alright guys, I just wanted to make a slight addendum to the video because Eddie, aka Armored Kill, one of the vehicle designers over at DICE, has just posted some clarification on Twitter of exactly why these changes were made. So it says here, I see a lot of comments about us hating air vehicles or nerfing them without a reason, so I'm going to walk you through the thought process behind the recent changes to air vehicles, specifically the Little Bird, aka the Nightbird, for the sake of visibility and some discussion. So, agile vehicles such as Little Birds, extremely high mobility, and the highest KPM, that is kills per minute, in the game is overperforming. We could have done a bunch of different changes to address this, such as mobility or weapon performance, but such changes impact the characteristics that people spend months to master. It would eliminate that mastery and can hard code lower efficiency on these vehicles, so regardless of how good a pilot is, they would still feel like they can't be as good. We avoided that. We opted for adding a potential downtime through dynamic gameplay that comes in the form of our change. Now, if the enemy team decide to shoot at you while you are attacking an objective constantly, you need to think twice. If you're low on HP, you need to think twice. This change isn't necessarily made for bullets to kill vehicles, but it's there to force you into making a decision. When to attack, retreat, etc. And as any other change, the intent can only go so far, so we'll see how it plays out, but as for now, we believe it's the right choice. Now, players may agree or disagree, and that's fine. We will start evaluating this change and the incoming feedback after the change is out and readjust if needed. Hope it sheds some light on why we changed this. So first of all, massive thank you to Eddie for actually stepping up and clarifying that, because this is, to me at least, putting this in the patch notes would obviously create a big rift between the player base. A lot of people are going to agree with this change, a lot of people are going to disagree with this change, so well done for actually clarifying that. And, you know, now that this says that, I guess that does make sense in my head. As a pilot, you really have two different resources to keep you alive. First of all, you have your flares that you can use to get rid of enemy lock-ons from vehicles and AA missiles from infantry players, of course, but you've also got your health, you know, and in a vehicle like a helicopter, you think of your health as a resource. So you can actually tank one AA missile with your health pool and then simply use your repairs to get you up. And I think, you know, if you watch the video in the background here, I'm purposefully putting this in and showing you guys how I am harassing this objective here up on the top floor of this building on orbital. And sure enough, every time I get locked on, I have to use my flares and I have to get out of dodge and go and take a breather. If these guys would have been able to shoot at me as well, well, in that case, they would have been able to also do chip damage. Taking a shot to my helicopter from an AA missile when I don't have flares would have been all that more dangerous, and I suppose it would have caused me to fall back a little bit more often and, you know, repair my vehicle and try to recuperate. But as previously said, I think the balance of this mechanic largely hinges on how much damage the bullets are actually going to do and how it's going to affect things when a bunch of players all just insta-target you. Are you actually going to be able to get out of there or not? So I understand Eddie's argument here and him making this to these agile vehicles like the Nightbird, but, you know, what I don't really understand is why they're going after the jets. Stealth helicopters, okay, fair enough, they're also pretty damn good, but I mean the jets? Like, the jets in Battlefield 2042 they're really not that great, you know. I mean, yeah, they've seen some good changes, they've got rocket pods now, and some players can use them very effectively, but on the whole, for like the average player, jets are kind of like bottom of the pile, man. Now, for the Nightbird specifically, we've also seen a nerf. So they've nerfed the minimum damage of the minigun from 10 to 8 per shot. Minigun damage drop-off will now also start at 100 meters as opposed to 150, and the damage drop-off will now end at 250 meters instead of 300 meters. So essentially what that means is that they are reining in the range of the miniguns a little bit. So they say we've introduced these changes to ensure that the Nightbird is most efficient in its intended combat range, which is close to medium. We do not expect drastic performance alterations with these changes, however, players can expect to be less efficient when taking on targets out of the intended range. Honestly, I agree with this range. I do think the Nightbird is supposed to be, up close and in your face to give it a little bit more of a chance of being RPG'd or M5'd out of the sky, and specifically some players who like to use rifle aim, which is where you rebind your keys and your mouse so that your mouse essentially aims with the helicopter a little bit more like when you're using a regular weapon in game. Those players could actually snipe people very efficiently from some quite absurd ranges, so I think they're making this change to directly combat those types of plays. Now moving on to the TOR railgun tank. So the gunner seat will now have a 20mm shotgun, 40mm grenade launcher, and 7.62 miniguns available for selection as loadout options. A unique close-range coaxial canister weapon with a high rate of fire will now also be available for use by drivers of the TOR, and both main weapons of the TOR will now have increased turret speed. So this is actually very interesting. One of the top critiques that I've always had about the railgun tank is that, they really shove you into that role of just staying back close to the spawn where you're safe and using it as a siege vehicle to snipe enemy vehicles out of the sky. There really was no other option, and it seems they've taken that to heart and they now are introducing a brand new weapon, it seems, here for the driver and some other additional weapons for the gunner seat, so that if you wish, you can take on a little bit more of an aggressive role with the railgun tank. Really, really exciting there. I can't wait to try this out on Tuesday, and I will be sure to let you guys know how it handles. Now, they've also made a big improvement, apparently, to the end of round screen. I haven't seen a screenshot of this yet, but this is how the description reads. With update 6.1, you will now find a new and improved end of round screen aimed at further emphasizing the beneficial actions of squad play. There will now be a best squad screen, which highlights the most efficient squad for that particular match alongside the main vehicle that the squad used. Alongside this, you will continue to see your own squad and the contributions that you've made towards the match. So really great changes there. Always nice to see them, iterating further upon the UI. I can tell you guys, if you've just bought this game or just started playing and you're new, the UI has seen so many improvements over the past couple of years. You really did not want to see what it looked like when the game launched. But really cool to see DICE striving even further here and definitely emphasizing that squad play. Now moving on to some weapon changes, they've done a minor rework of the AEK-971 handling. Recoil now resets faster, and it also has different multiplayers for the first shots in a burst and has an improved recoil camera behavior. So based on all of that, I think the AEK is going to be an entirely new weapon. This is one of the highest rate of fire weapons in the game. It's honestly always been very, very good, but it does have quite considerable recoil, that you really have to master if you're going to be good with it. But it sounds like they've pretty much just completely redone the recoil. Like there are new multipliers for the first shots, the recoil resets faster. So I would watch this space on Tuesday. The AEK-971 may just be a much better weapon. They have also made a slight nerf to the accuracy of the GEW-46. It's been nerfed by 5%, which should only be noticeable at longer ranges. Don't really fully understand that one. I never felt like this particular assault rifle was one of the best in the game. Definitely not one of the worst, but I certainly don't think it warranted a nerf. So I am, slightly scratching my head over that one. And then finally here we've got a pretty significant nerf for the ACW-R. This has been one of the best vault weapons in the game since Season 5 released, in fact. So damage from 0 to 50 meters is now 28. Previously, it was 28 damage all the way up to 30 meters, and now damage from 15 to 20 meters will be 26, and 20 to 70 meters will be 22. And previously, it had 22 damage from 30 to 75 meters, and now 70 plus meters will be 18 damage. So just an outright direct nerf to all of the damage at every range for this weapon. That 28 damage up to 30 meters meant that this weapon was a 4-shot kill at that range. It was definitely really, really, really good, so not that surprising that they have nerfed it here, but I hope they haven't made it completely obsolete. So there wasn't really, too many changes in this particular patch here to go over, but the few changes that they did have were certainly quite significant, so it's going to be very interesting to play on Tuesday on the Dark Protocol event, of course, but then also jump in some Conquest, see how the Nightbird handles, and see how the damage to the helicopters is going to be like. Also try out the TOR Tank. I'm sure I will have plenty to say about those changes, and I'm sure you do too, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, guys. Thank you for watching today, and a special thank you to my members and Twitch subs for your additional support. Don't forget to head over to the Twitch channel if you want to hang out and play a few games live over there. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.